You can do this with a screwdriver, paper clip, whatever you want. What we want to do is connector in here. We want this bottom pin in the corner and the one right next to it. I've seen the ALDL connector installed upside down. There's a locating pin, a plastic pin along the bottom edge, and so are the A and B connectors are on the bottom edge. If you've got this connector installed upside down and that locating pin is on the top, then you would want the ones in this upper corner. But this one's installed correctly, so we're going for these two pins. You can do it with just a paper clip, whatever. This is a very small cotter key that I bent really quick. So insert that in both pin connectors, and turn the ignition on, just like you were going to count the codes. Don't start the car, just turn the ignition on. And I'm looking for the check engine light to blink at me. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. You want to make sure that the A and B pins are shorted to each other, because if you don't do that, sorry, that was my radio beeping at you. If these two pins aren't shorted, then the computer's going to try to control the advance of the ignition, and we don't want to do that because we want to set the base timing. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to I'm going to try to figure out where to put the camera for you to watch what I'm doing. Okay, there's on the harmonic balancer there's three. Oh shit. Okay, let's try this again. To set the timing, the harmonic balancer got a circle. There's three grooves in it, 120 degrees apart from each other. See this? I've got a wide groove up here. I got a thinner groove. I got a thinner groove. The wide groove is the one that we want to work with. There's a nut or a bolt right in the center that is I think it's I think 19 millimeter. I use a 3/4 inch on it because it's the right length for me to put a 3/4 inch on it. But the nut that's right in the center of it, you can put a socket and a ratchet on it and turn the rotate the harmonic balancer. You can turn the engine over slowly. Do it a little bit at a time because you're fighting the compression of the pistons. But you can turn the engine over slowly and get your wide groove up to a point that's accessible, because we're going to put some paint or some fingernail polish. Don't tell your wife that. We're going to use some paint or fingernail polish, something that will be easy to see, because it's going to be dark down there where you're trying to work. So I use white. I use a white paint that I get from a art supply store. It's a thick paste that doesn't take very long to dry, so that's just what I use. But if you white touch-up paint or a bright colored fingernail polish, but we got to fill this groove in with something that we'll be able to see. Also, there's the timing tab, and the base timing is set at 10 degrees. So you see that this point here lines up with the number 12. This point here lines up with number 8. Point lines up with 6. Point lines up with 4. So we want 10 degrees. So obviously we would want our timing mark on the balancer to line up with this valley, which will be at 10 degrees. So I put a dab of white paint on the 10 degree mark, and I put a dab of white paint in my wide groove. That way I can see. It makes it much easier to see when you're setting the timing. So the next thing I'm gonna show you is I'm gonna show you the timing tab, or the groove, and the timing tab without paint. And then I'm gonna show it to you again with paint, and you'll see that it's so much easier to see where you're trying to get the marks to line up. So we'll be right back. Oops, I forgot to show you how I make my marks. I start with a Q-tip, and I break one of the fuzzy ends off. So now I've just got the cardboard stock. And if you don't have a set of these, buy them. They've got a little handle on one end. When you depress the handle, it makes these claws come out on the other end. Get some of these. You'll love them. They're great for retrieving bolts that you drop into little nooks and crannies. But I open up my claws and set in my piece of Q-tip, and then I take my paint and I cover the end of the Q-tip with my paint, and then I very carefully guide my Q-tip down into the groove on the harmonic balancer, and also on the 10-degree mark on the timing tab. So we'll be right back with the timing tab. Okay, this is where we're wanting to look. In the lower right edge of the corner is the water pump pulley. So we're standing next to the passenger side of the car looking straight down, and you can just underneath the below this heater hose clamp, you can see the timing tabs, and well, you can kind of see the timing tabs, and you can just barely make out the groove in the harmonic balancer. We're going to be right back with paint in them, and it should make it a lot easier to see. Okay, nothing's changed except I just added a little bit of paint. The mark on the left is the painted groove on the harmonic balancer. The mark on the right is the 10-degree mark on the little pointed degree. Oh, God, I can't even think of what it is. The thing with the teeth. So the 10-degree mark is the valley right between the 12 and the 8, and then the balancer has got its wide groove painted. So when I get my timing light hooked up to it, I want to get those two marks to line up, and then I can tighten down the distributor, and I'm all done. So we'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to do this kind of quick because one, I've only got 11 minutes of battery power left, and two, I'm doing this in an enclosed garage, and I don't want this to be the last video I ever make. Already got my timing light hooked up to the #1 spark plug wire and the battery. I've got my wheels chalked, car is in neutral, so I'm going to start it and see where my timing is. Okay, it took me a couple tries, but I got the timing where I wanted it to be.